All right. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully well. Hopefully your weekend is going excellent so far. So far, so good. We have some fun news to go through. Might give everyone just a little bit more time as we wait here. And then we'll go ahead and jump into the news. What was the biggest thing you've all seen this week? Did I miss something? If you're also interested in the news and want to bring something today or next week, feel free to. Absolutely do it. I'm going to do breaking news throughout the week if it's important enough. There was nothing important enough this week. No worries about that. There's some interesting things. There's some things that we're going to cover today. Woosah, how are you doing? Hopefully you're doing fantastically. I'm doing well. This week has been a bit busy. So it's been sugaring season. So for all of you maple sugars out there, when I role play as Canada, I try to do it well. That's always my motto. So yeah, we've been doing that quite a bit. It's kind of something that doesn't take a whole lot of time until it does, and then all of a sudden it takes a lot of time. But other than that, not much has been going on. I couldn't actually have much going on with work and doing that for the next 2 weeks. My parents were down last weekend. That was good. Not that anybody cares about that. I have this thing with silence. Oh, okay. We can get into the news. All right. I hope everybody had a fantastic week. I found, there wasn't actually a ton of news. There's like 3 interesting things in total. Most of them have to do with AI. And so I wanted to spend a quick second before we get into the majority of these. Some of them are open source, so stick around for those. But I found a blog article that I really liked. I thought that this was a pretty decent take. And this person actually worked really hard to not take either side's extreme. And so, anyways, I thought it would be good to review. I'm going to give you all the link so you can read it yourself. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you. That's not my style. But I'm going to send you or tell you the highlights of it and why you should read it. It was really well done, in my opinion. So basically, The Eternal Promise, a history of attempts to eliminate programmers. And this whole thing just starts out by going through, I do love the original Sin and COBOL. Fantastic. Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself. But it goes through the attempts over the years to make systems and lower the bar to entry. And what I really like is that he actually gives a lot of credence to these things and how these things, these movements actually shaped and changed the industry. While COBOL isn't really used anymore, the fact that COBOL did what it did shaped how new languages were done and made. And so what I really liked about this is that it did a really good job of saying what it was and then also moving on to how it affected the industry moving forward. So I thought that was the really cool thing going forward because it didn't just say, well, this is a thing that failed. They didn't really fail. Like you can read about the first AI winter, the expert systems from the 1970s, and the expert systems failed. We don't use them anymore, but they did actually transform how software engineering was done. They brought in some really cool systems and ideas. It's like green threads, right? So that was I'm gonna say it was popularized by Node. There was probably something else that did it before that, but that's how Node handled so many little things and was really popularized by that. At least in my universe, that's when I first learned about it. And you notice a lot of other languages adopting that as a cool pattern or a very useful thing that something like a web server would have. And and so this goes through each of these generations of the different ones with the promises, what they did well, and how it actually affected the industry going forward. One of the ones I really like, not the Redux one, but one down here that I really liked is the no code and low code section. I actually know this one very specifically. I mean, my children can use it's called Blueprints in Unreal Engine, and it's actually really cool to see the bar that was lowered. It doesn't mean that they don't know code because a lot of the blueprints is just code in more of a visual manner. But a lot of these things lowered the bar to get people going in that direction, understanding what code looks like. There's another one that actually allows you to build it in the low code blocks, like the building blocks, and it also translates it directly to Python, so you can see both of them side by side. So this one really did lower the bar. It doesn't mean that you use these in every application. It doesn't mean that every use cases is great. And a lot of times these low code situations I find to be less effective than just typing it because I can type quickly and I know exactly what I want to do, and trying to figure out visually how to get the blocks to align is just kind of a mess when you get into a bigger program. So while this one specifically isn't super useful to my day to day, it did a really good job of lowering the bar to entry. And it's a great call out. And then it ends with the large language model, the current wave, and it talks about why the promises fall short, but it talks about what actually changed. Each wave of simplification tools does change something real, just not what the marketers promise. COBOL did not eliminate programmers, but it did make businesses programming more accessible and create an enormous industry. 4GLs did not replace traditional languages, but they did enable rapid development of certain categories of applications. No-code platforms do not make developers obsolete, but they do empower non-developers to create useful tools. Or like I said, with my kids, it was a really great way to get them into it before they were really fast typers or things like that. The pattern is consistent. New tools lower the barrier to entry for simple tasks, which increases the total amount of software being created, which creates demand for more sophisticated software, which creates demand for more sophisticated developers. This has been the common thing. If you go back and look through history, most of these people had people saying it was the end of this developers, kind of like you have your current wave of people saying. And so like it holds pretty true. Now, that being said, they don't make any claims on the current wave and their capabilities. Just looking back historically of what we've seen, which is really cool. So anyways, I recommend you go read this if you haven't. It's a fantastic read in my opinion. Yeah, that's just what I was going to say. I liked how it finished up. As we look to the future, the history of software simplification offers a valuable perspective. We should expect AI tools to become more capable. We should expect new promises of revolutionary change. We should expect some of these promises to be fulfilled in unexpected ways, and others to fall short of the hype. Most importantly, we should expect the fundamental challenge to remain: building software that does what people actually need reliably, efficiently, and securely in a world where requirements consistently change and the system must work together in a complex way. That challenge has never been primarily about the difficulty of typing code. It has always been about the difficulty of thinking clearly, communicating precisely, and making good decisions under uncertainties. These are human skills, and they will remain valuable for as long as software matters. The programming of the future may write less code directly. They may work at higher levels of abstraction. They may use tools we cannot currently imagine, but we will still be doing the essential work of translating human intent into software that works. And that will continue to require skill, judgment, and understanding that no tool has yet replaced. I don't know about this. I would say that I agree with that sentiment of what I've seen. But yeah, history suggests that reports of programming's death have been greatly extravagated repeatedly for over 60 years. There's no reason to believe this time is fundamentally different. Every reason to believe that those who invest in deep understanding will continue to be valuable regardless of what tool emerges. We have worked so often, so many times. This is actually not even like a complete history, right? Because like a lot of the times, let's talk about our deployment pipelines. We work so hard to make deployment pipelines that require less of our skill, right? We could manually deploy everything. That would require a ton of engineers, right? If we manually deployed everything. The fact is, we don't do that because there's not enough engineers. So building efficiencies is kind of what humans do. We've done this with farming. You know how many farmers there are right now? Way less than there were just 100 years ago. That's what we kind of do. Anyway, good article. I liked it a lot. Thought I would share it with you all. All right, in open source, there was a couple cool things that came out. Now, one of them, I kind of want to tie with the article that we just read. Because one thing that they brought up here that I thought is maybe an interesting thing is this article talked about the explosion of code, right? We talked about how looking forward with clear eyes, that each one of these things lowered the bar, meant more people could, become insert into the funnel. And, at the end of that funnel, you have your people that became like real experts. And we talked about that the top of that funnel is creating a ton of software, right? So at the end, more and more and more software is getting created. Well, that's kind of exactly what Black Duck just released. You can go download their full report, but they have an open source report here that you can check and go give it a check. I highly recommend any of these that you're interested in. You go to the actual source, read it with your own eyes, and think critically about it. But to relay what this article was saying here about how each one of these does that. Well, AI has possibly done it more than any of the other ones. The one I want to point out is just this. We don't have to get into the actual article, but AI's most obvious and immediate impact is the sheer volume of code being produced. The mean number of files per code base grew by 74% year over year. That means the number of files in the code base almost doubled. 100% would be doubled, right? So we're talking about not quite doubling here. That's a stagger. This is on average, right? Very big. While the average number of open source components increased by 30%, this mushrooming of complexity is directly linked to a widespread adoption of AI tools. Roughly 85%, alarming 76% of the companies that explicitly prohibit these tools acknowledge that the developers are using them anyways. Holy crap. This terrifies me. This right here absolutely terrifies me. You explicitly prohibit those tools and the developers are using them anyways? I mean, do you just have the Wild West or something? Like, I don't understand. I honestly don't understand here. Whatever. We're gonna move past that. the real reason I brought you guys to this page. When OpenAI and Anthropic can produce new AI models without any devs, then to start to worry. Yeah, Russell, I absolutely agree with that. You know what I found funny is everybody was like, they used AI to help them build Cortex. Did you know Cortex, the latest Cortex, was the first AI model that they actually leveraged their own tools? I didn't even realize how bad it was. I like, and the fact is, they just leveraged it to refine what they were doing. So basically, the whole Cortex thing was the fact that they didn't do anything new, which is, I think, is a very important thing. Is I don't see AIs doing new things, and in fact, the hallucinations are almost always wrong. I've never seen it hallucinate something that actually turns out to be true and correct. The hallucinations almost always turn out to be wrong, and one of the interesting things here. One second, I'm going to make it where chat's easier to see, I think. I'm going to make it easier to see, maybe. Okay. I think I made it easier. Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah. They just used it to refine what they were already doing. So, like, they had all the data on what they were doing. They used sufficiently advanced statistical analysis to refine it. I think it's a great use case for it. I actually think it's an alarmingly good use case for it, which is something that I'm going to work very hard this year. I want to find alarmingly good use cases and help popularize those and give frameworks for people to leverage them that way. I think that's maybe something we're really missing is like there are teams effectively using these. Airbnb, when they transferred their tests, is a really, really good example of effectively using these. And we need to start popularizing these and building frameworks that do those things. Okay, anyways, going back to this, the thing that I wanted to bring your all's attention to is the correlation between rapid AI-assisted development and security risk is stark. For the first time in OSSRA, OSRA, that's what I'm going for, OSRA's history, the mean number of open source vulnerabilities per code base has more than doubled. This doesn't mean that, like, it has more than doubled, not that it doubled 107% to an average of 581 vulnerabilities. That means that prior to this, we were sitting at somewhere around 255, maybe. I didn't do the whole math. I just did a quick estimation, so don't hard judge that. But 250, we're going to say 256. It was an average of 256. That's a nice round number. It has more than doubled in 1 year. So I know that a lot of us have talked about, hey, possibly AI is bad for security. Possibly it's not doing this very well. I think maybe Black Tug has kind of put the nail in that coffin. We kind of maybe know now. I think all of us had the feeling, but I think possibly right now we kind of actually know. Maybe we don't have to say, well, maybe it's bad for security. Not only do I want to point to this, but we looked at like Claudebot and OpenClaw and a bunch of other alternatives that do that same thing. And the fact of the matter is, we're going to have to build our own because I can't even trust those to run on a separate network. They're so insecure, and some of them, like OpenClaw, by design. And yeah. Anyways, I don't know that I have much more to say other than that. The security, not a high priority in these things. Probably means they trained off of my data, to be fair. They probably trained off of my programming. Which, if you think about it, makes sense, right? One, because I write a lot of crappy code. And two, because when you're doing statistical analysis, you're going to whatever the most is, not what the most correct thing is, but what the most is. They are so insecure they could be a virtue signaling celebrity. Yes. Yes. That that's an excellent way of putting it. Uh all right, let's talk about a little bit more exciting open source news, because there was actually some really good open source news. The first one I want to talk about is the Open Source Endowment, a truly sustainable funding for critical open source through a community driven endowment. So currently they're at 716,000. They're looking at becoming over 1 million. You can donate if you're in the United States. It has become a actual charity, so you can get your tax write-offs if you donate. I recommend you go and check them out if you haven't already. Their goal is to help sustain open source projects long term. And yeah, you can go check them out. I don't know. You can look at yeah, all of this stuff. I haven't gotten through all of it yet. Some of the members on there are people from like GitHub, the creators of GitHub and the likes. So you know, yeah. That's about it. Like I said, I haven't looked through all of this yet myself, but I did see the formation of it. Hopefully, they're able to do some good work in the open source communities. I know that they need it. And yeah, we'll see. On top of that, the Linux Foundation reports show active open source contributions deliver 2 to 5 times the return on investment, while passive consumption increases costly technical debt. This was an interesting read, and I recommend you read it. I don't know. I believe there's a lot of assumptions that are made here. I believe there's a lot of assumptions here, but it's an interesting take, and I don't know that it's actually wrong. I said a lot of assumptions. Didn't mean that those assumptions were wrong. It just means that I would have to do more study to further validate and understand what it was. And this wasn't, this is an overview. This is not like trying to persuade you of all the things that were measured. So yeah, the Linux Foundation, the non-organization available mass innovation through open source, today released a new report, Return for Investment on Open Source Software Contributions, Insight to Open Source Return on Investment Survey and Economic Model. Based on the insight of more than 500 leaders, the report quantifies that the economic value of open source engagement, revealing that active contributions delivers a return on investment. So letting your engineers actively contribute on these open source things returns a big return on investment. Meanwhile, organizations that leverage open source without contributing back risk accruing technical debt, expanding under labor, and foregoing a significant value. So basically, I mean, like if you go and download the report, which we can, but this overview is fairly good. My takeaway from it was that if you allow, instead of like just adopting Argo CD and leveraging Argo CD and getting the returns on investment from that, they almost downplay that as not really good or healthy. You're just taking on a lot of technical debt, which is interesting to me, because like then the flip side of that is, but if you let your developers actually contribute to the Argo CD project, you're going to get large returns on investment. So anyways, it's interesting. I actually think that I might agree. And one of the reasons is the better your engineers know a project. Like if I can actually contribute code to a project, it means I actually understand the direction that project is trying to go. I actually understand those types of things. and I'm going to actually leverage the platform to the best of its abilities because I actually understand it. And so I think I might actually agree here. It just, there's a lot of middle ground that I'm not quite sure I fully understand. And then the last thing in open source I noticed there was this. The Association for Computing, it's a place where research articles are posted.
Introducing ACM Open, ACM's transformative open access publishing model. Truly open.
We're actually going to see an article from it, which is pretty cool. Now that I have access, I don't have to pay for ACM, and I can get access to some of the research articles, which we are going to cover right after this ad break. Yeah. So we have a quick ad break. We have a couple things coming up. How's everyone doing this weekend? Your weekend doing well? Is your weekend going well? I believe is the question I was going to ask. I'm going to take silence as everyone is so riveted in the next thing that I was going to say. Ooh, Zig to C. Okay, I'm jealous. Are you doing this for like microcontrollers? Like, you don't have to tell us what you're doing it for, but that's what I want to do. No? Okay. How much have you done with Zig so far? How are you liking it? You like it more than Go? Do you think... So, I've always assumed... Are you listening to me at the gym? Am I like your pump you up, get you... that would be an interest... I never assumed that anybody listened to me at the gym. It just makes you angry. Go lift some weights. Listen to this idiot for a half hour. Oh yeah, that gets me going. That would be hilarious and sad at the same time. So Zig is an interesting one. I've always considered languages as, a tool, and maybe not every language is the right tool for every job. We know that Python is the right language for every job, but most other languages. One more second while we talk about it. The latest AI controversy. Oh God. Well, we have the big AI controversy that I haven't even covered. The big AI controversy. I'm glad. Yeah. So Zig is an interesting one. I have always been thinking like microcontrollers. It sounds like a perfect thing for microcontrollers. But then I've been wondering recently if maybe I have underplayed its more usefulness in other things. Like, I always say that, I've liked Go for microservices because while it's dumb and has some terrible things in it, if I'm making a really simple microservice, it's generally pretty good. It's generally pretty efficient. It's generally pretty fast and easy to write. I can just kind of do the thing that I want to do and be done with it. Do you think Zig has more precedence in a small, simple microservice than I'm giving it credit for. I'm thinking about changing my microservice stance to C#, but I don't know. Maybe Zig needs some more consideration. I'd rather not be beholden to Microsoft. Their current ability to produce software is kind of bad. From somebody who generally likes C#, I honestly think that they've just vibe coded it up way too much. Quicker to develop. So that's kind of been my stance. Like, write it in Go, and then if it becomes like a critical path, rewrite it in Rust. Like, if it's a simple microservice, it shouldn't be that hard. It allows you to get something out there quickly, and you just kind of bust it out. And then if for some reason that becomes a critical path, you rewrite it in Rust, and you take your time to like architect it well and move on. Yeah, that's kind of been my like the things that I do. I write it in Go, and then when Go doesn't work, I rewrite it in Rust. I'm not as good as Rust, but I can do it well enough. So I have a couple little things that are in Rust because just the memory management with the queuing, and they do a bunch of little stuff, and the garbage collector in Go isn't perfect. And these need to be very, very intolerant to delays. So we have pretty strict SLOs and SLAs on it. So the garbage collector just wasn't good to be in the critical path of that. And it was also pretty easy to rewrite in Rust. And so those, and they just pretty much just work. But yeah. Yes. Right, Russell. Obviously, like if you know you're creating this critical system thing and nanoseconds matter, you should just go for it. Agreed. All right. Two Microsoft execs this week just released something we've been talking about for 2 years. I know that Russell and I have at least talked about it. Nighthound might have joined the conversation, but they've made it official. So just this week, they released Redefining the Software Engineering Profession for AI. And to not read this line for line, what they're saying here is that if junior engineers become very heavily displaced by AI, because again, something that I have seen is the people that are most effective with AI are some of my most senior people. My most senior people are able to leverage it as a tool and not as a crutch. So I find a lot of junior people leverage AI as a crutch, and a lot of senior people leverage it as a tool. And I think that this makes a world of difference. And you know what? Microsoft execs, after countless hours of vibe coding Windows and destroying their one product, they've kind of come to the same conclusion that it just doesn't work. Now, one of the things that got them here, I thought was actually something we haven't talked about, and we should. This is something that deserves more conversation, because the inherent reason this happens is because of how a neural network works. So basically, they were saying that while AI is boosting software development, examples of frontier coding agents exhibiting intern-like behaviors demonstrates their limitation, and how an engineer a developer might have difficulty spotting or guiding the agents away from suboptimal designs and erroneous conclusions. In Figure 1, the agent has inserted a sleep into the code that was crashing because of a race condition. This type of change only masks an underlying complex bug. Any engineer, you don't even have to be a senior engineer, would know this easily. This is like a classic, I can't find the race condition, I'm going to fix it with a sleep. But it's not actually fixing it. It's slapping a Band-Aid on it so that will bite you in the butt in production. So it's bad. Now, the agent admits that it's wrong. So when you challenge the agent, it will admit it's wrong. And you think, oh, this is good. I can challenge it. It will admit if it's wrong. The fact is, even if the agent is right and you tell it that it's wrong, it will admit that it's wrong. Think about that. And the fact of this is how neural networks work, right? Neural networks, I feel like we talk about this all the time. Basically just have this branching structure with weights, right? So you have different weights, and there's a whole bunch of these. This is overly simplified. This one could go over here, whatever. It's oversimplified. And the whole point of a neural network is to come up with a statistically accurate response. And basically, when you're told that you're wrong, there are two responses. If I tell you you're wrong, you can either say, yes, you're correct, or no, I'm right. Those are the only two really valid responses to that. So statistically, this neural network at some point has to come out with, I was right, or you were right. That's the statistical one. Now, depending on how it was trained, depending on the model, and I think this will depend on the model, it's going to favor one of these two outcomes. Because depending on what it was trained on, we'll say that when somebody challenges somebody as being wrong, the answer is that they were probably wrong and the person challenging is the correct one. Or depending on how it was trained, with what data it was trained, it's going to come out with that it was correct and that the people challenging are usually wrong. It just depends on how much. And this actually goes back to other resources that we've covered here on this channel about how poisoning an AI and making it believe something only takes about 30 files. This was research done by Anthropic that we covered just a few months ago, where you only need a small data set to change the behavior of these weights, because again, just statistical analysis. So this actually causes a really interesting thing. You can make the AI believe it's not believing it's wrong. Again, it's just statistical analysis. But the fact is, it's not a very good check if the AI was wrong or not. What really makes this important is if the engineer that's reviewing it knows whether it's wrong or not. There is also the common option where both parties are wrong. Touche. That happens with me all the time. I know the AI is wrong. I just don't know the right answer. I'm like, no, that's wrong. I know inserting the sleep is wrong, but I have no idea where my threading issue is. Please help me. You fix race issues with white space changes in comments too. Right. So anyways, now this is not their argument. They're not actually correlating this to other research. What they're saying in this is something we've talked about is, will this change the pipeline to making those technical leads? You want your staff and principal engineers that can really lead and plan and do those types of things. And it really requires a big pipeline of junior engineers. And the question becomes, how do we do this when junior engineers are leveraging these as a crutch? And they go into some ideas on how you might do that. I think it's a little too early. And I think, honestly, there's going to need to be some experimentation as this progresses. I don't know that I have the answer here. So anyways, if you want to go check it out, you can go do so here. I thought the really interesting thing was actually what they didn't talk about, where, you know, the statistical model requires them to do basically this out of statistics. And like, that is what, this is actually what, and I need to do I need to do an educational series on this, because this is what, if you understand this, I think your ability to leverage AI goes through the roof. You understand what it's doing and what it's not doing. When people think that it's sitting there thinking, then that's a problem, because then they give it more precedence than what it actually is doing. But when you understand that it's going and saying, what is the most statistically likely answer to this based on everything that's there and everything in its training model, now it starts to make sense and you can leverage it to great success, in my opinion. And not to like over validate my opinion, because I can be wrong, but I think that this next thing that we're talking about actually goes into that. People did some stuff, but they understood the limitations of AI and how it operates. You know, more than its limitations, just how it's operating and what it's actually trying to do. So yeah, anyways, Cloudflare released, I want to call it VI Next, but that makes it sound like a Vim alternative, which it's not. It's a Next alternative. So, you know, they say that it's pronounced V Next. We'll go with V Next. Anyways, English is rough. English is rough. How we rebuilt Next.js with AI in 1 week. Now, what I'm going to say is this is an example, and this is the repository. So if you guys are following along, you can actually check out the code that backs this. But I think that this is a great example of exactly engineers understanding what it's going to do. And this is a perfect example. Now, I'm not going to read all of this because I don't want to be the internet's teleprompter, but it's a cool article about rebuilding the Next.js API, so becoming API compliant with Next.js, and doing it in a week, highly leveraging AI. They spent like $1,100, I want to say it's $1,120, 1,100, 1,100 in API tokens. I was off by 120 tokens. So they did it with about $1,100, and let's talk about what they did. This is the future of coding tutorials. I know, and this has always been my problem with coding tutorials. Coding tutorials never tell you the complexity of how to do this safely, how to do this securely, and how to deploy the thing, and then how to handle the traffic that Netflix handles. That's the real problem. Netflix's UI, not a problem. I've seen their UI developers, not a problem. Even I could probably challenge their UI developers and make Netflix's UI. That was overly mean. I didn't mean it to be that mean. Okay. Whoops. Anyhow. Must do it as fast as we possibly can. Then the framework themselves took so long to make. Exactly. Yeah, one of the top HTMX developers has laid down a challenge to Netflix. You are correct. I take that title proudly. I need to do something more with HTMX. You know, I feel like I haven't explored that nearly enough, even as one of the leading experts. How we rebuild. Okay, so the premise of this, you can go read. they have some goals that they're wanting to achieve, and I'm happy for those goals. You can go read about those goals. I don't super want, like, it's cool. It's cool what they're trying to do. I actually think that it's an interesting product that I might actually leverage going forward, because it's trying to make Next more adaptable to run on other clouds, because Next really was designed to run in in a very particular cloud provider that starts with a V that I won't talk about. Anyways, if you're not running in Vercel, the truth is it's not nearly as useful, right? And so the idea behind this whole thing is kind of Next, but without that hard dependency on Vercel, or at least trouble with running outside of Vercel. You can run it outside of Vercel. It's just not nearly as easy. So, this first one actually is very much geared towards Cloudflare workers. So it kind of has the same problem as Next does. They said that they actually made it work on Vercel, but it took them about an hour to get it to work on Vercel, and it had some of the same problems, but they're working on those problems. So that's beside the point. I don't care. That's beside the point. The interesting thing here, taking on the Next.js challenge, but this time with AI. They talked about how doing such a large project would have been 6 months of several engineers or an engineering team. And this is one of the reasons why nobody has actually pulled off what they did in this 1 week. The first commit landed February 13th, and the first release was a week later. And they were able to bring 94% API coverage to Next. Now, why is this problem made for AI? I think this is the most important part of this entire article. Why is this an AI job? This is called understanding what AI can do and fully leveraging it for that. Not every project would go this way. This one did because of a few things happened to line up at the right time. Next.js is well specified. It has extensive documentation, a massive user base, and years of Stack Overflow answers and tutorials. The API surfaces all over the training data. When you ask Claude to implement Git server-side props or explain how use router works, it doesn't hallucinate. It knows how Next works. What this is saying is that what it's trained on, what a model is trained on, the statistical probability of these large projects. I'm sorry, I'm getting super excited. I didn't mean to yell into the mic. I'm just getting excited because I love it that other people are finally coming to understand these AIs in some of the same ways that I do and are writing about it. Is that the fact is these AIs know what this is, and they can statistically very easily reproduce these functionality because they know it. The next thing, something that I've been harping about, is fixtures outside of AI that can directly influence the AI. So we're talking about statistical analysis that doesn't rely on an AI. So let's talk about static analysis. Let's talk about all the static analysis that we have for code. Let's talk about test suites. Next.js has an elaborate test suite. The Next.js repo contains thousands of end-to-end tests configuring every feature and edge case of the project. We ported tests directly from their test suite. You can see the attribution in code. This gave us a specification we could verify against mechanically. Not only does the AI know it really well, it also was given the ability to validate whether it worked or not. Vite is an excellent foundation. Vite handles the hard parts of front-end tooling, fast HMR, native ESM, I don't know what this is, a clean plugin API, a production bundling. We didn't have to build a bundler. We just had to teach it to speak Next.js. And the models caught up. I think these things are the really important things that go into this. These two things specifically. They had a well-defined spec. They weren't creating something new. They were recreating something slightly different based off a really well-defined spec. The Next.js API is also really well-defined. You can go out there and find the Next.js API. Like, it's there, it's defined extremely well, and its code is open source and in the models. The test suite is, again, this exterior static analysis that you have to do this thing, and an extremely good test suite at this. This right here is so important. One second, I gotta catch up. Oh, every time Eric says AI will add one more rep, this is what we're talking about. AI. I'm going to get a Steve Ballmer. I'm going to funnel my Steve Ballmer. We're going to get... Poor Jabril is going to die here. Emacs script modules. So anyways, I'm sorry. I think that all of this stuff that we're seeing, from the publication from Microsoft execs to the Linux Foundation report and the open source report from Black Duck, everything that we've talked about, that we've covered, you know, I think that, like, this is the type of stuff we should be talking about. If you looked at the Airbnb, I need to bring up the Airbnb AI translation of tests. So, you know, this was another great example of where this static analysis actually helped. So they did all of this, but they engineered it, and they engineered it understanding AI and what AI does, right? And so they standardized all of these things to have these static analysis tools outside of AI that could help validate if the step was correct. So, you know, they had these steps. This one was actually a static analysis tool that actually just ran. But they did all of this and engineered the system in such a way to leverage AI. I think, like, this should be a really good case study that anybody that does AI should know this and understand this. If they don't, that would be like a pretty red flag for me. The same with this. If people don't understand why this, you know, when somebody in an interview tells me that, like, they're an AI expert and leveraging it, I ask them about these things, because if they don't know these things, to me, they haven't fully, they're just saying that they vibe code in something, which I do. I sometimes vibe something out, see if I can't you know, I have a specific thing I need it to do, and I get it to do that thing, and then I'm good because it does the thing that I need, and I'm done. There's no step comparing code coverage from old to new. Oh, that's interesting. How did they check the tests weren't impacted? So they didn't, the AI, as far as I understood, the AI didn't have access to the tests. The tests were, that being said, I'm looking at it right now. I'm not sure that's a true statement. Most of the tests were not touched. Some of them were. It's interesting because some of these tests that were touched are like the deploy, which was things that they were changing. So these might be very specific. This to me, fetch cache reads very much like it was set up for Cloudflare, right? Because they said that they changed it for Cloudflare. This one says, yeah, the deploy. Again, that was the big thing that they changed out of it, was the deploy. So, I don't know. There's no sign of that step in the diagram. Which diagram are we talking about? Airbnbs? Oh, I see what you're saying. You're not talking about the vNext. You're talking about this. Oh. No, I do know that, okay, I need to read this again. I thought that the final thing was that the test passed on the code that it's used to pass for. So like their final step. I thought that their final step was like, okay, so the system used to pass with this, and it still passes with this, and it still fails on the, for each test you have past scenarios and expected failure scenarios. And my thought was that, I need to read this, but I thought that that's what they did. The test might pass, but how can you tell it's covering the code the same? So these were end-to-end tests. These weren't unit tests. So these were like system checks. So it should have the same coverage, right? Because like they were end-to-end tests. That would be my assumption, but that assumption could be wrong. But like they were testing the but like these wouldn't have code coverage, right? Because they weren't unit tests, right? This was their end-to-end test suite. So I'm not sure that would have been easy in this, but I'll reread it and I'll let you know. I would almost absolutely swear that the last thing was like that the same pass fail scenarios and the same failure scenarios passed and failed in the new test. But I could be wrong. They should. If they didn't do that, that was bad on their part. That was bad on their part. That's an easy fix. You could check network dumps. That's an interesting one. You could also, so like if you did it nearline with something like Redis, not Redis, Kafka. I don't know why I said Redis, but if you did something nearline with like event driven, you could do it with that as well, right? You could check that the events were all the same that the services were putting out, and you could record them. So like, yeah, I agree. It depends on how your system is set up, but I think you're right that there could be a little bit more verification there. And I think that's really the thing that matters. When I look at these things, like also that verification is stuff you can feed back to the LLM, right? Like this is why I actually think that Rust will become one of the better languages for AI because it's so ingrained with so much feedback at the compiler time of making good software. I think the best language for an AI might be terrible for humans. I think it would be one of the most well defined, well-constrained, memory-safe languages. And I don't mean garbage collected. I mean, like, we have a billion rules about memory safety, but because we have a billion rules, you can also do these strange and horrible things because they'll just compile right, because the compiler can check and enforce it. I think it might be hard to write yourself. I think that might be the best language for AI, because the compiler, the tests, and all of that will be able to drive the AI to perfect code. Otherwise, Airbnb are just vibe refactoring. Yeah, vibe refactoring. Oh gosh, I love it. I want that as a term. All right. Last piece of drama, a little bit of a drama llama for today. Thanks everybody for joining me for the news. I appreciate you all being here. You all are awesome. And as soon as we're done with the news, I'm going to make a cup of coffee, and then we're going to. I actually really want an AI companion to help me with the news, like collecting the news over the week, and we're going to start busting that out. We're going to vibe it a little bit, and then what we're going to actually do is see if we can't come up with the constraints and do something awesome. Most likely it's going to fail, and that's okay. That's what you have to be willing to do to see if you can't do something, work in some new way. I'm going to try to write a bunch of really awesome tests, constraints, and whatnot, and see if we can't get something. If not, we'll just have to hand code it like it's 2025. Or maybe we do a mixture. Maybe we can like get some stuff out there and then refine it. That could be a possibility as well. We'll see. Eric Levy. All right. First off, I'm going to complain about OpenAI's website because I think it might be vibe coded and it annoys the garbage out of me. It annoys the garbage out of me because I actually think in 2025 and 2026, I was personally affected by the encrapification of the internet. Every website, every piece of software in 2025 that I touched felt worse than it did the year before. I feel like almost everything has become worse. Like, hands down, you pick a company, except my company. My company has done a really good job of not doing that. Every other company, the software has just gotten worse. And this is an example of it. This is an example. I'd like to make this text larger, right? So I hold Control and hit plus or scroll the scroll wheel, right? Well, the words don't get bigger. The margins just get larger. Oh no, we don't fill the screen for any reasonable thing. We leave these nice big blank sides. Thank you. Thank you. Now, if we're at 100%, it gets bigger for a little while. And then it's just like, nah, you don't want, we don't want that. Makes me so angry. I did kind of just attack everybody. I didn't think about it that way because all of you write software. My apologies. My apologies. I just attacked my whole fan base. My apologies. I meant, except for my company and the software you all write as well. That was the exception clause. I just misspoke a little bit. All right. So what's the newest thing? AI demand is surging across consumers, developers, and business, meaning that demand in providing everybody access with our products requires three things: compute, distribution, and capital. It really only needs two things, is compute and distribution. Really, it just needs compute, distributed compute. So really, it just needs one thing, distributed compute. Now, how do you get that one thing? You get that one thing with money. So, I'm going to disagree a little bit with his Vibe article here, but they need one thing, and that is capital. Because without capital, they can't get their distributed compute. Now, this has been in the works for a while. About 6 months ago, I said that there was rumors that they were in talks for $100 billion deal. And I said that paramount to that deal landing was the restructuring of their company. A lot of people were wondering why they were pushing so much to restructure, and they finally got Microsoft's approval. So Microsoft was one of their first investors, and they finally got Microsoft's approval to restructure the company. I covered that in news, and I said that this was coming. This is the direct of that was this. The direct, my brain fails me all the time. The direct result of that is this right here, a new $100 billion investment in pre-money valuation. $30 billion from SoftBank, $30 billion from Nvidia, and $50 billion from Amazon. So Amazon is dipping its toe in, its big toe. It's dipping its big toe. Maybe all the way up to the ankle. Maybe all the way up to the ankle with a signed strategic partnership. Now, you know what? There's not a whole lot to go into this. They need more GPUs. They need more money. They need more distributed compute. When you think about it, if a GPU doesn't provide me with an AI good enough for me to use, it's almost like every person on Earth needs a GPU. That's a lot of GPUs. NVIDIA likes this. They like the sounds of everybody on Earth needing one of their big $50,000, $100,000 GPUs. Okay. But I think that there was other things at play here. This on itself, we could have seen. I mean, I did predict. This was easy to predict. There was a ton of telltale signs. The restructuring of the company, all those types of things pointed towards this. But something else. Why is this a drama llama? This isn't a drama llama. The drama llama is this. Actually, I have this post. Tonight, we reached an agreement with the Department of War to deploy our models in their classified network. Classified network isn't interesting. Secure network, I feel like classified is the wrong word here. I feel like classified, I mean, like the stuff on the network is classified, but if the network itself was classified, you wouldn't be able to talk about it, right? So the network isn't classified. It's just the stuff on the network that is classified, right? It's an air-gapped network as well. Like I understand what it is. This is just, I don't know why I'm picking on words because I do a poor job with words. Anyways, let's move on. In our interactions, the Department of War displayed a deep respect for safety and a desire to partner to achieve the best possible outcome. Oh, that's interesting. AI safety and wide distribution. I mean, like, to be fair, whether it's the Department of War or Department of Defense, to be honest, safety for their citizens is their only thing, right? Like, just to be fair, like the safety of their citizens is actually the only safety that they're concerned about. Not like, I'm not pointing fingers at, like, it's not this administration versus another. Like, that's that department's only thing. Like, it doesn't matter. They're not worried about other safety. Anyways, AI safety and wide distribution of benefits are at the core of our mission. Two of our most important safety principles are prohibitions on domestic mass surveillance and human responsibility for the use of force, including for autonomous weapon systems. The Department of War agrees with these principles, reflects them in law and policy, and we put them into our agreement. We also will build technical safeguards to ensure our models behave as they should. That's a funny statement. They've been trying to do that for a long time, which the Department war also wanted. We also deploy FDEs to help our models and to ensure their safety. We will deploy on cloud networks only. We are asking the DOW, I always want to call it the DAO, to offer the same terms to all AI companies, which in our opinion, we think everyone should be willing to accept. We have expressed our strong desire, blah, blah, blah. We remain committed to serve all humanity as best we... as long as all humanity serves Sam Altman wants to serve humanity. The world is a complicated, messy, and sometimes dangerous place. Okay, so at a high level, this isn't really a drama llama, is it? This isn't a drama llama, is it? Is it? Well, maybe we should read the next statement from Anthropic. Statement from Dario on our discussions with the Department of War, or the DAO. The different DAO than the traders. It's a different DAO. All of humanity that are paid customers. Oh my goodness. You just made it sound so much like a mob. Like, do you want to pay for safety? Would you like to be safe? Oh, we're not gonna hurt you, but you could pay us to protect you from vagrants out there, vagrant AI companies. Oh my goodness, fantastic. I believe deeply in the exquisite importance. So I also want to point out the wording in this one, because I know that I picked on OpenAI's wording of like classified networks. I don't know, maybe that's what they call it. I think that's a dumb word for it, but there's some interesting wording that goes on in here, and I'm going to call that out. I believe deeply in the essential importance of using AI to defend the United States and other democracies and to defeat our autocratic adversaries. Again, some interesting wording here, right? Like the way that they write this, one, I think it was to not make certain people angry. So you use big words that a lot of people don't understand the exact meaning of. And you make it vague enough where, like, who are you referring to here, right? Who are you referring to here? It's vague enough that it would be difficult for me to even point out. Anthropic has therefore worked proactively to deploy our models in the DAO and the intelligence community. We were the first frontier AI company to deploy our models in the US government's classified networks. They must refer to it as classified networks. Again, obviously, the networks aren't, because you just talked about them, but whatever. The first to deploy them at the national laboratories and the first to provide custom models for national security customers. Claude is extensively deployed across the DAO and other national security agencies for mission-critical applications such as intelligence, blah, 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 blah. Anthropic has also acted to defend America's lead in AI, even when it's against the company's short-term interests. We chose to forego several $100 million in revenue to cut off the use of Claude by firms linked to the Chinese Communist Party. Some have been designated by the Department of War as Chinese military companies, shut down CCP sponsored cyber attacks. I mean, these attacks actually leveraged Claude. So I mean, like, it was abuse of their terms of use. So like, I hate it when companies actually take these stances of they did a good thing, even though, like, they're saying we gave up money to stop attacking people. That's like AWS saying, well, guys, we gave up money because we shut down the VMs that were launching attacks on your bank accounts. You should be thanking us because we gave up money. Please. I don't love this. Like, this whole statement here, I think misses the mark. I'm sorry. Like, it comes across as missing the mark. That's just what I'm going to say. Like, when you say we have chosen to give up several millions of dollars by not launching cyber attacks. Oh, okay, sure. If that's going to be your stance, you took the high road. Okay, Anthropic understands that the Department of War, not private companies, makes military decisions. We have never raised objections to particular military operations, nor attempted to limit the use of our technology in ad hoc manner. However, in a narrow set of cases, we believe AI can undermine rather than defend domestic values. Some uses are also simply outside the bounds of what today's technology can safely and reliably do. I love that they admit that there's limitations to the use. This is kudos to them. There are limitations. Two such use cases have never been included in our contracts with the Department of War, and we believe they should not be included now: mass domestic surveillance and fully autonomous weapons. To our knowledge, those two exceptions have not been a barrier to accelerating the adoption and use of our models within the armed forces to date. Doesn't matter to anybody, but I'm pretty good on no domestic surveillance. But yeah, anyways, to our knowledge, these two exceptions have never been a barrier to accelerating the adoption and the use of our models within the armed forces to date. The Department of War has stated they will only contract with AI companies who accede to any lawful use. Again, this word is an interesting word. This feels like lawyers wrote some of this or did. It has very specific meanings. Like I said, I was going to call out some words. There were some words that weren't used. They're either highly specific or highly vague on purpose, right? Accede to is very highly specific that I feel like lawyers would write. And remove safeguards in the case mentioned above. They have threatened to remove us from their system as we They have threatened to remove us from their systems if we maintain these safeguards. They have also threatened to designate us as a supply chain risk, a label reserved for U.S. adversaries, never before applied to American company, and to invoke the the Defense Protection Act to force the safeguards removal. These later two threats are inherently contradictory. One labels as a security risk, the other labels Claude as an essential to national security. Regardless, these threats do not change our position. This is true. These are contradictory. You wouldn't use both. Lawyers were hunched over the press team as they typed. Exactly. This was pair programming. You know, they had a split keyboard, and the lawyers got one half, and the press team got the other half, and basically they could only type words that they both agreed on, right? This was pair programming to the extreme. Regardless, these threats do not change our position. We cannot. Okay, so the department's progressive to select contractors most aligned with their vision. So this is the actual drama, because if you read the Altman, they also said that they baked in those terms. So what is going on? Because you can look at, there's a bunch of different things that talk about the New Deal that was laid down. And, you know, basically the removal of Anthropic. I don't know what's actually going on. To be perfectly clear, it appears that for the most part, these things are being maintained. But it also appears, I saw that the head of the Department of War was pushing forward with, I don't remember, it was one of these. They were putting forth the recommendation to Congress to do one of these, and I don't remember which one it was. Whether it was to remove or Defense Protection Act. I'm not sure which one. I don't remember. I can go look it up. I don't care. To be quite honest. So there you go. There's your drama llama. Change that to a seed. It comes off easier. The paraphrasing is accurate. Should we start a war today? Oh no, it's Saturday. Let's reconvene on Monday and revisit that question. Oh god. Have you guys seen War Games? Have you seen? It's a movie from 1970s. Did I nail it? It's before my time. War Games movie. 1983. So again, before my times. We all know the solution here. We just need to have Anthropic and ChatGPT. I messed it up. It's not even a word. It's just letters. Play tic-tac-toe against each other. That's what they're doing on the confidential network. They're just playing tic-tac-toe versus each other. That's it. Yep. 80s. You're right, Russell. You got it. It is the 80s. That's what our confidential network is doing right now. Playing tic-tac-toe. You know what can play tic-tac-toe right now? And chess? The AI arena. The AI arena. That can. All right. That was all the news that I had for today. There was a couple things that I wanted to point out. This isn't news. These are articles that I found cool. I'm going to post them for you all, and we'll just cover them really quickly. Because I think if you are interested in learning, these are really great places to start learning something. LLMs are good at SQL. We gave ours terabytes of CI logs. This was a... That's perfect. It's a draw. No, I won. Okay, you won. My bad. If you didn't know, AIs are really good about just agreeing to whatever the prompt is. So you could just make it believe a lot of stuff that you want. I've also had it argue with me that I'm wrong and I can't get it to do it. Anyways, so the first one is LLMs are good at SQL. We gave ours terabytes of CI logs. This was a really cool use of AI and something that I thought all of us have dealt with, especially when you're talking about end-to-end tests and things like that. When you're talking about like, did I cause the system to fail or did the system fail for some other reason? And they're looking for a way to understand that quickly and easily. And that's basically what they did here. Again, it's a technical one. We're not going to read it. They go through a lot of the challenges that they had to suffer to get it to work. And it's actually really cool. So if you're looking at doing something similar, I highly recommend you take a look at this. The next one that we're going to look at is the Unsloth Dynamic 2.0 GGUFs. We're excited to introduce the Dynamic version 2.0 quantization method, a major upgrade to our previous quants. I'm really excited about this because I've been training some AIs or trying to train some ideas, and quantization looks like, even though I got a Spark, I'm going to need to leverage highly. And this one looks like it actually maintains accuracy while doing it. So I'm really excited about that. It's a cool thing you should check out. I do have a workstation for AI. Yes, I do. I do not have a green red box, unfortunately. The tiny corps are just too expensive. We're looking at like 15 to 20,000. I couldn't afford that. I wish I could. Once I get a sponsor for the AI games, I will have a tiny corp box. Absolutely. The next thing that I wanted to point out to you guys is something that I think is going to send dread to your little tootsies. It's going to go from the top of your head to your little tootsies. It's going to make you excited. We want to combine the two largest, most loved corporate experiences in the United States, and we want to make something just amazing. Just, we might even call it AMGzing. That didn't come out as well as I thought it was going. Amazing. But the official launch of the AMG group, which is a stutter because it's the Amazon McKinsey Group, AMG. a collaboration to help organizations achieve enterprise-scale transformation. The group combines McKinsey's industry and functional knowledge, technology expertise, and change leadership with AWS's global cloud infrastructure, broad AI model choice, and purpose-built tools for deploying AI agents at scale. You are all welcome. I've let you know that AMG is now a curse word you don't say. It's something that you just hope doesn't ever get brought up at your management. When they say change management, they mean how do we fire everybody possible and make as much money for the executive leadership team. Functional knowledge, we're talking about the functionality of toilets. They're very well versed in them. All right, that was my article for you guys to read. I'm just gonna leave it that we're gonna end the news on that note. On that note, the news is done. Oh. I mean, that's actually what McKinsey does, right? It's word salad. AMG, a voluntary tax on done companies. I love it. I love it. I mean, so to be like completely fair, what I read here was that basically there's a strategic partnership where McKinsey is going to recommend AWS hardware and AWS is going to recommend McKinsey for the enterprises that are in it. Like, that's my big takeaway from this. It's not a big change. It's not like some like, that's my takeaway from it. But who knows? All right. That concludes the news. Did you guys see anything that I missed? Did I miss anything? Is there something I should be talking about that I didn't? Do you want to know something? For the longest time as an American, Eastern and Western, and maybe I'm just stupid and probably shouldn't be talking about this. Eastern and Western confused the crap out of me because to me, Europe was Eastern and China was Western, right? Like that like if I traveled east, I hit Europe or Africa. If I travel west, I hit the Asia side of things. I never understood this was really like this whole saying came about well before like the Americas. And so like to me, like it never ever made sense. I was like, I don't understand. It does make sense now, but you have to understand like world history. Anyways, which I guess I didn't until I was like in my teen years. All right. I have an idea. I have wanted to try using something like Claudebot. But Claudebot is super there are more vulnerabilities in Claudebot than there are not vulnerabilities. There are more lines of code that are vulnerable in Claudebot than there are lines that aren't vulnerable. And so I actually want to do an experiment because one of the things that I want to do is I want to see if I can't with a combination of static analysis and a combination of tests, unit tests, and things like this, kind of efficiently leverage an AI to go much faster. That's going to be my goal. So part of this is an experiment, and part of this is trying to build a well-defined thing that I want to do. So I know I've talked to many of you at times with the news. I'd like something that goes and scrapes and ranks news. I'd like it to also be in chat while we're having this, so you guys can rate news articles and things that you like and give it feedback in some sort of memory where it can learn and understand those types of things and rank the news better for us so that we're learning the things that we want to learn and not focusing a ton of time on the things that we're not. So I've wanted that. And Claudebot looked interesting, but Claudebot full of tons of problems. Safety and security were not built into it. I would have to say that you have to treat AIs as untrusted agents, right? You almost have to cynically look at the things and say, like, they're actively trying to do harm, because you don't know if an agent goes out to the internet, you don't know what instructions it was given, right? You have no idea. You have to assume that it was given malicious instructions. And so, I'm sorry, my eye just got super, I wonder if I got something in it. Okay. Okay. I think that's better. No, it's not better. 1 second. Okay, I'm going to fight through this, and then I'm going to go make a cup of coffee and get the eyelash out of my eye. So you have to take every AI agent that runs as an untrusted source. Like, you have to believe, at least this is my opinion right now, that it is a malicious agent, right? So if you're going to build something like that, you have to build safety at the core. That's like my only thing that I can do at that point is that, like, that's the only conclusion I can come to, because every attack vector, every security aspect of this is very scary. And so I want to make an attempt to make a secure personal assistant. That's what I'm going to try to do. That's the goal. I have this idea right here. I did look at some of these alternatives. So there's Zero Claw. There's Iron Claw. This one, I think. Yeah, Iron Claw maybe. And there's Zero Claw here. We can look at these. So we can look at some of these, and I'm going to tell you some of the things that I don't love about them. All right. So the problem with these is I don't actually see the safety I need. They have a prompt injection defense and content centralization layer. This is their safety layer. And the fact is, I was trying to look at how this safety layer works, and to me, it looked like really, really simplistic prompt injection. And that's, quite frankly, not good enough, in my opinion. I think it's good, and maybe we'll borrow some of this for the prompt injection. But to me, what I want when we're looking at these, what I want is I want a clear, well-defined agent RBAC. The fact is, agents should run in a sandbox, and every agent should get its own sandbox. So I'm going to say agent sandboxes. And let's actually clarify this even further. Every agent should get its own sandbox, and every resource in that sandbox should be controlled by RBAC. So one of the things that I really haven't liked is that while you'll have sandboxes, every agent has access to the same stuff. And so like, let's say I write an agent that summarizes my email, and that's all it does. I could do this safely if it goes and gets my email, summarizes it, and has access to nothing else. So if there was some sort of prop injection or some rogue thing that it doesn't have the ability to write email. It doesn't have the ability to write to my disk. It doesn't have the ability to run applications. It doesn't have the access to any tokens or anything like that. It's in its own sandbox. Now, I might have an agent that can send emails or that can run tools, but my Gmail agent should not. It shouldn't have access to that. It should be in its own sandbox. So every agent I run should be in its own sandbox. I have not followed the whole conversation. I don't know what you guys are talking about at this point. I'm going to step out of it because I think I'll just get myself in trouble. If I speak, I will be in large trouble. Okay. So, you know, a lot of these things are good at the high level. But again, I think that each one of these chat apps should have its own security. It should have its own sandbox. And I think that that's really, really important. It shouldn't go into this big agent loop that has access to the memory and in the same sandbox as everything, because every agent needs to have zero trust. Basically, and then what you can do with this is every agent can be trusted with exactly what it can do, and it can't cross over. And then I think you can do those things safely. I can have one that scrapes the internet that has access to nothing else and is just in its sandbox. And I think that's beautiful. I think maybe this is like possibly, yeah. Anyways, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we can do this. We'll see if we can do this. You know, maybe I'm full of it, and I can't do it any better than other people have. The other thing that I was thinking of is we could do WASM agents, so people could write their agent in anything that they wanted, and it could still be run by this trustless thing. I don't know. We'll just do the first one in Rust. Like we'll do the WASM will be a stretch goal later on. I said per agent brain here. I don't think per agent. If it hits the internet and that result stays in context, it's almost impossible to protect against attacks. Let's see. If it hits the internet and that result stay in context. But okay, let's think this through. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to have an agent that goes out and searches internet for interesting news. And in this, I don't want to get prompt injected. Obviously, you can and should have some sort of prompt injection detection. And in this should go to a ban list, right? So like if you get prompt injected and you catch it, this should go to some sort of ban list, right? But but this isn't good enough. I'll say that right away. This is not good enough. And so what the agent will do here, so this is, let's just say this is the agent here. If this agent just does two things, it evaluates it based off of some context. So this agent will have just a flow. I guess we'll just write the flow here. The agent is going to validate it for the community. Validate it based on read-only context. So is this an article that we should use? And then the other thing that it's going to do is it's going to generate. We're going to generate a summary plus link. Now, the AI brain is in read-only. So when untrusted sources are leveraged, the AI brain, so all the memory and stuff, cannot be written to. It can just be read from. So it will generate this, and then it will write it to a file, right? That's the last thing. We'll write this to a file in the sandbox. Like in its sandbox, we will write this to a file. You can usually beat that by just changing languages. Yeah. I was thinking that you would do this because it would allow you to do at least a ban list. Like these are websites that have been attempting to do it. It's at least good practice, right? It's not full of failure modes, right? You'd have to store the results somewhere and have a mechanism link that doesn't allow the text to get into the conversation, so the AI could never read it back. Possibly, but this agent, this one, won't have access to anything else. So what could it do? Even if it read, let's say it did get this into the conversation, because it has to, right? To validate it, it has to be part of the conversation. You're passing the plain text, but it doesn't have access to anything other than writing a single file, right? It has no tools. It has no access to anything. I guess it could post to the internet, right? Also, to be clear, this is an RBAC brain, right? This is an RBAC. So it doesn't have access, it doesn't have read access to everything. It has read access to what it needs. And in this case, this AI specifically needs access to what you guys have found interesting. Or maybe we could have a list of websites we want it to check, right? That's the other solution here as well. Now, the other thing is, you're right. This has to be in isolation. This file, no other AI can use. No other AI can read, right? I guess this goes without saying, right? And this is what I was talking about, strong sandboxing. Agents won't be able to consume the output of other agents, which I know like defeats some of the purpose. People really want like that AI agent chaining, but I don't know that I can wrap my head around how to do that safely. So how do you get the articles? Isn't that part that is scary? Is it? Maybe I'm missing something. I feel like getting the articles is not the scary part. It's having, like, if it has read access to the internet, what is it going to do with that? It doesn't have any access to anything except a single file that it can write to. I don't think you can stop agent teams going crazy once they have external input. Do you mind expanding on that? So maybe the right solution here is you can limit that but not stop it. I agree, Russell. So I guess my thought here was I limit the blast radius if something does go wrong, right? So like I'm trying to think of like worst case scenario here. If no other AI can read the output of this agent and without like me feeding it to another AI, I think that this is fairly safe. Like, don't get me wrong, this agent might put something in here that isn't safe for stream. Like that could happen, absolutely. But like if the agent to agent one is the thing I haven't figured that out. And I don't think I think that if you do it and you have outside input, I think that is where it gets really dangerous. Now, I think you could have agent to agent things that are all internal input, like my scheduling agent. I think that anybody could write to that because it would only take input from me. It would only take input from me. So the output of that agent would be safe. Probably. I think. I don't know. If the agent has no external input, its output can probably be considered safe, I think. That's as long as the model hasn't been poisoned, right? None of these protect against model. Well, no, I mean, the idea is to protect against model poisoning, right? This agent, even if this agent's model got poisoned, its blast radius is limited. Can you send me a link to it? I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't read what you're talking about, but probably my biggest thing, and I run into this every single time I vibe code. The project gets large fast. And this is annoying. The problem with this, the real problem with that, the project getting large fast, like you think, oh yeah, that's like the whole goal is it's writing all the code. But then what happens with the project gets large fast, like really fast. The big problem with this is that I don't really understand it anymore. And then this actually has a couple problems. The first one is that AI then changes too much and it's hard to validate and the project stagnates. So what the first problem here that I come to is all of a sudden you have thousands of lines of code in a project and it's not code you wrote. You don't have any memory. Sometimes you like get into some code and you're like, oh, I remember this, and then there's this context and whatnot. You have none of that. The AI starts to thrash a bit. So when the AI goes in, it starts to change stuff that wasn't originally part of what you needed changed. But it starts to have this scope creep unless you can perfectly give it the context that you need. The problem with this is as it becomes hard, it's hard to give it the right context, right? So as the project starts to get large, it's actually really hard for me to give appropriate context. Hard to give good context as the project gets large quickly. And this is compounded by it's hard for me to understand it. So like all of these things add to this, which then also add to it's hard to validate, it's hard, and the project starts to stagnate. So the thing that made it go fast really, really quickly is also the thing that then starts to bite at your Achilles heel. Like your Achilles tendon is just sitting there and it starts to munch away at that. So like, yeah. I still don't have the post. You should post the link to it. I'd read it and give you my thoughts. These are just my thoughts of like how I kind of feel at the moment. For me, I don't actually worry a whole lot about like the finely crafting code. For me, it's always been building cool things. I like building things and I like understanding how those things work. Don't get me wrong. For me, I don't have to touch every line of code. That's not actually important to me. Maybe it's because I'm not as good at coding as some people. Let me look at this. All right, interns, we need to have some real talk here. I'm tired of vibing on stream. Vibing on stream is also entirely not fun. I don't really like vibe coding unless it's a tool I have no desire to build. Okay, yeah. He likes to vibe code things that he doesn't actually want to program. How I manage things on my stream, how I write my YouTube videos are a great example of things I would never build, but I have. I don't like vibing the things I care about. I hate the code it generates. I hate the feeling of getting everything I asked for and nothing I want. This is a loaded statement. I hate the subtle offness around vibe coding things. This is an interesting statement. I think I'll come back to this. It is just driving me nuts. So for the next while, I'm going to be done vibing on stream. I generally have been trying my hardest to make this work, and I cannot quite put a finger on why I hate it, but I do. And I just feel so horribly guilty and wrong because I am not getting the results of everyone else on Twitter. I mean, this is because you shouldn't pay attention to Twitter. I hope that the Primogen at this point in his career and life would understand that. A lot of people on Twitter post to be part of the in crowd, to be part of that group. And sadly, like that creates a lot of echo chambers. It creates a lot of people feeling like they too have to lie because somebody said that they were 10 times more productive and oh no, I'm not 10 times more productive. And then some people actually believe they're 10 times more productive because they made 10 times more code and they don't understand the maintainability nightmare that they've just created for themselves, possibly their company, and the security implications and things like that. So I hope that this isn't actually true for him. How how am I, someone who prides themselves on making YouTube videos that I think are actually good for people, to make videos that help people laugh at the silliness of tech to learn something new? But here I am not able to keep up with all these people claiming the sky is literally coming down. I just feel horrible and guilty about it. I feel bad for the Primogen if he's this way. This is called imposter syndrome, right? The Primogen who sells misinformation is falling for misinformation. I mean, it could happen to me too. Like, I actually feel bad for people that like, this is something like, I will not make fun of people that get, I will make fun of people a little bit, but especially those that deserve it. But like the people who get social engineered, it could happen to me too. I have seen some really convincing social engineering attacks. I have seen some really convincing, I almost bought gift cards. I'm joking. I didn't almost buy gift cards. But like, I feel bad for people that are taken by that, because the reason people do it is it works. Even if it only works on 1% of the people, that works on enough. And I know that we hold people online, influencers, to this standard of like, you shouldn't have imposter syndromes. Well, the fact of the matter is we all have imposter syndrome to some degree. Because to some degree, we don't really understand what everyone's talking about. At the end of the day, I'm going to talk about how this thing was really cool for me, but that doesn't really, and I will impress it upon you as something that really worked well for me. And it probably really did. But there's situations and scenarios in that you don't know or understand, because the world is a big, complex thing. And so it might not work as well for you. But then you're like, wow, well, Merrick really liked this continuous development thing and Kubernetes. And it worked really well for the thing his team was doing. And I'm just not getting why it didn't work for me. Well, the reason, and like, okay, this is maybe a bad one because I think this would work for a lot of teams. But my point is there's a lot of things that goes into designing the system that worked for us. And it's a lot of engineering. KH shell. Yeah. And so like, anyways, I actually feel bad for him right now. I feel bad for him. I think that as content creators, we all struggle with this, especially for people that, I don't know. I don't watch the Primogen stuff much, but like if he actually cares about trying to help, I struggle with this. Are my videos actually worthy of helping people? Do they actually help people? Because I don't want to put something out there that leads somebody down the wrong path, right? That would be horrifying for me. And I'm obviously some people lead themselves down the wrong path, but like, to me, that would be horrifying. So I get this. Anyways, let's go. Now I know the world is changing fast, and I want to be able to understand the change super well, be able to talk about it, be able to give really accurate opinions about it. So for the last 3 months, I have vibe coded an absurd amount of things, but now I'm just tired of it. I don't want this anymore. I want to be a trad coder. I don't know why I told everyone this, but I just have this growing sickness that is just eating me alive around vibing, and I don't know how to express it. So there's two scenarios. He actually believes this, or he's baiting you all. I don't know which one. It's the Google product used to justify Go. I love it. Out of everything here, this sits with me. And the reason this sits with me is I'm on the I'm on the edge. I tried to use a fancy word to say edge, and obviously my mouth and brain said, no, you know what? I know the word, I just can't say it. Anyways, I'm not saying it. I'm on the edge of the same thing here, right? I want to help people learn what's next. I want to help people in their career. And there is this amount of doubt in my head. Am I missing something? When you have companies, one second. When you have companies like Amazon investing $50 billion and $30 billion from Nvidia and $30 billion from SoftBank, you come back to this and you say, am I the one missing the ship? And if I'm the one missing the ship, I don't want to lead other people down the wrong path. This is why I so often tell people to think critically about something and not just take my word for it, because I don't want you, I want to share an opinion and I want you all to work and understand that opinion. I want you guys to, challenge the opinion as well. Like, that's a healthy state. I want us to work and try. Like I said, this is why I'm working on this bot, to see if we can't do it in some way that works well. The the thing is, it's just very, very difficult to know. That's why critical thinking is so important. That's why continuing to learn and understand how AIs can be used and leveraged is very important. I think that if you want to adopt AIs at a company, that this is actually a series that I've been thinking about, is how to adopt AI safely at your company. I that's meant more for leaders to watch, but maybe also for the engineers at the company to push on their leaders to do. I think that there's a lot that goes into that. But at the same time, I think that you have to be ready for it to fail as well. Hey, we're going to do this, we're going to try, and trying means you might fail. It seems like the Primogen failed and hasn't come up with something that that he's happy with, but that's okay. That's part of the learning experience. You'll either learn that this isn't there yet, or you might have learned of 3 months of a way not to leverage AI. I do think if we're talking about well-defined specs like we have in the Cloudflare example, or if we're talking about the use cases that somebody like Airbnb with the translation of their tests have done, I think there are actually really applicable uses of AI. This doesn't mean everything about engineering has changed necessarily. All right. I'm going to make a cup of coffee. People need to look at the executives of their business, if they are employees, and think, do these people really want what they are doing in our industry? The answer is often no. And these are the people pushing for investment in things. The company's money is meaningless to them. AI is taking advantage of ineptitude at the highest level. I tend to agree, Russell. I don't. Okay. Let's move on from that. Anyhow, I'm not sure of the point, anyways. let's move on. All right. All right. Sorry, I don't know the buttons. I'm not real fast. I have to go focus. Sorry. I don't know the buttons really well. It doesn't happen that often. So I had to go find them. Anyways, sorry about that. Oh, please do not get... Okay. Look, if you want to start nitpicking at people's phrasing, let's stop that. Like that's going to go nowhere. You know what? If you want to nitpick somebody, go nitpick Sam Altman's phrasing when he posts something on Twitter, because he didn't post it. A group of lawyers did. Let's not. I think it's a slippery slope. All right. Awesome. I just wanted us to not devolve into and when you're typing something quickly, you don't necessarily have the legalese watch over, be like, how exactly did I phrase this? I do it too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll be like, oh, but you said might, and that implies, and it's like, okay, yeah, but yeah. Thank you, Russell, for using the American spelling. I'm notoriously bad with the non-American spellings. Do you mean you just misspelled it? The non-American spelling is spelling it correctly. That's the non-American spelling. Offense is the correct spelling. Oh, the C and E. I can't tell which I think is correct. Yeah, I didn't even realize. I think the S is correct. I have this thing. And I realize that I'm terribly wrong. And that's okay. I'm accepting of it. There is no need for a C to make an S sound. There is no need for this CE business. Like, Microsoft tried this, it was bad. Microsoft proved CE bad. I do believe this should just not exist, right? When you want a S sound, you use an S, not a C. I don't know why. You use an S. This resonates with me more than it probably should. Just remember Microsoft, the big M, proved CE is bad. This is all you have to remember. We have the destruction of my native language. You are absolutely right. I will not hide it that I destroy the English language. I absolutely do not doubt that. I do believe it to be true. Your brain reads it with a more fancy. That is hilarious. The fact like you could put like just like where to put the pronunciation, and like that makes it look more fancy too. Yeah. I was gonna say, I speak American. I say this anytime anybody asks. I speak American, and it was my first language. I don't speak English. English is a much more sophisticated language with bigger, longer words. Like, my vocabulary stops at about 6 letters. If it doesn't fit in Wordle, it's pushing the bounds of my vocabulary means. Yeah, so. I speak American. That's right. I mostly speak American to hide my 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 Chinese ties through Canada, which I believe was a conspiracy that has circled many a times. I'm actually a Chinese spy living in Canada, I believe is where chat left last time. And I had that with my American accent. This is the only accent that I can do fairly well. Every time I try to do any other accent, it comes over horribly. I cannot do a British accent, period. It's well above my intelligence level. The spy part was thanks to Togglebit. I forgot who came up with the spy part. I forgot who came up with the spy part. I forgot why people thought I was a spy that lived in Canada and pretended to be in the United States. Yeah. Oh, I don't think I fixed J, did I? I think this will fail. Oh my goodness. Maybe when I come back, we fix J. Yeah, maybe we do that. One thing, I'm going to put up Swirtle. I almost said Swirtle. That was a combination of Squirtle and Wordle. I don't know. All right. The Wordle game is active. I need to go make coffee. You guys all go make coffee. I'm going to run some ads so that we don't have them when I get back. And then we'll rant some more. And we'll do some stuff. Thanks everybody for joining. I super appreciate y'all coming out and hanging out. I don't have a button that says run at what? Oh, wait. Okay. We'll get the ads out of the way. Sorry about the ads. Have fun playing Wordle. If you guys haven't played Wordle before, if you type a 5-letter word in, it will be counted towards a vote. Whichever word gets the most votes in the time allotted is the one that's picked. Unless if somebody picks the right answer and then they get it. And then they get the points for it. That being said, the points don't work, so there's no leaderboard yet. I need to work on that. All right. Have fun. I'll leave you with a little bit of music, and I'll be back in about 15 minutes. I believe you're English though. All right, what is this word? What are we on? What is my guess going to be? We have a LOD. Oh, dang it. Oddly is a good one. Can I come up with something that's oddly better? That has an O and an L and a D. Older. That's no, but the L's in the wrong place. I'm wrong. I'm gonna just change my vote to oddly because the no to O and L in the second. Yeah. I realized that. I came in late. Nice. So, everyone was solved? Wow. That's how bad I am at this. Literally leaving improves your guys' chance of getting it. I do think we need to bust out hard mode. I will bust it out next week. Next week we'll have a hard mode. What I'd like to do, actually maybe we can do that. Like that might be a good programming thing for next week. I might just do that. Just like by hand coding. What I would like to do is switch between hard mode and easy mode. So like if you get 2 correct in a row, switch to hard mode. But then I wanted to like put like a red border around it. So like when you're in hard mode, you know. You know, right now, you know, I can just pick. I know, it's like education. It's the Wordle educational version. Oh, not this. Let's see. I have not touched this code in a while. I'm kind of happy that it just works in general. I mean, obviously there's my system is not working. Oh, you know what I did? Ooh. I actually haven't used NeoVim directly for a little while on this computer because I updated to Quick Start and it changed a bunch of stuff from Quick Start from what I was doing. And then, you know, one thing that I went to was I started leveraging Zed. Now, what I wonder here, what is this restricted mode? Oh yeah, okay. What I wonder here is I wonder if the upstream has finally caught up with where I was, right? Because remember, we actually had updated this and we were running our own llama, right? So I'll see if this works. Anyways, I haven't been using Vim on my computer, or like NeoVim, which I need to update it. I need to go through and update it. I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to maintain my editor. It's maybe the thing that caught me. Okay. Let's see. I really do like Zed. What are people using? I know that there's a lot of people that are using VS Code. What are people using? Are some other people using Zed? All right. So this is where we get the spell checker. And this is the file that, so this is what needs to change, right? This kind of sucks, actually. I wish I could say that AI wrote this. I wish I could say that. Ooh. You started a trial at Emacs? I feel like I should trial Emacs again. I did a very long time ago, and it was too much for me. I was learning to program at the same time, and it was too much to learn to program and Emacs and everything. And I haven't touched it since, so that's like 10 years ago. And I know that, were you doing Emacs with like evil mode? I think it's evil mode. NeoVim is the cool choice, though. I know. I wish social media wasn't so much about being cool. I'd be better at it then. I'd be so much better at social media if it wasn't about being cool. Do me, Max? Emacs bankrupt. Wants less framework in their framework. Maybe I try this one of these streams. And by try this, I mean like try Doom Emacs with evil mode. It looks kind of like, to be honest, I'm like looking at this and I'm like, tell me the difference between the, like the scheme's a little different. And if I get the Vim motion in there. I think the one thing that would be cool, and I know that this can do it as well, is like on remote machines. So like here in the next couple of streams, we're going to be doing stuff on my little AI computer, and we'll be working on remote, like we're working on code on a remote machine. And that can be done here too. Maybe I try Emacs. I feel like I should know what my editor of choice is. After all this time, I don't really know. Okay, so that's the spell checker and then the game loop. We're passing in the spell checker, but how do we get a new word? Do we get a new word from the spell checker? I don't remember. I think we consolidated that. When we got a new word, we got it from the spell checker. Get random word. Yeah, from the spell checker. Okay. So that is correct. So all we need to do is update this spell checker. And this is the, so when we compile so we made this, where is it? Let's see. I do remember this. I don't know if this is good or bad, this wordle word. Basically, when we compile this, it basically builds out these text files. So this is the full word list. This is the, this is like the, we've never used this list. This is like the, I forget, we have NW. W stands for word list. What's the N stand for? New word list, maybe? I was thinking this is like the tech word list, so maybe it should be TW. We need more though. We're only up to 66, so I gotta come up with more. This is stupid. Okay, the thing that I haven't done is I haven't added the, we haven't added the hard word list to this. That still lives on my machine. And so we've got to do that. I got to add that here. This is the hard word list here. It's got words in it. It's got words. Let me tell you, this word list is I mean, it's a zesty word list. Why is it double? Oh, I did merge them, but I thought I deduped them, didn't I? Obviously not. Okay, I just deduped. Was it different? No, it wasn't different. It was an actual duplicate. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Let's move this. It needs to be a 2-letter, so this is gonna be the challenging word list. Okay. It just needs to be 2 letters because we actually like build out a compressed version of this, so at runtime, it's not using the text version. It's kind of cool. Mostly borrowed from other people's work. I just had to update it to support these word lists. Did my stream just die? My stream is. Interesting. Interesting. All right, so the thing that we have to do here, I don't even know, I wasn't planning on doing this. The hard word list came up though. I got baited. See you later. I got baited to do this, but I think it's not too bad, right? So all we need to do... Oh, this is interesting. So this is actually a bigger change because we pass the spell checker into the game loop, right? So this we will wait for next week, but I understand now where we are because this game loop goes over and over again, and what we need to do is be able to update the spell checker based off of yeah, I'll have to go check on my internet. Maybe my satellite dish got bumped. Let me see what I can do here. Interestingly, my internet's fine. I wonder if, like, this is how I can tell because my internet is actually fine. Well, maybe my internet's telling me it's time to call it quits. It's a beautiful day. I have sap to go collect and burn off. So, you know what? Maybe I'll just go do that. I did want to actually get into this. I know we had talked about it. Maybe we'll do it next time. Maybe I'll stream some tomorrow if I'm just trying to bust the... Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Trying to bust this out. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I won't. I might just not. We'll see. Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to be done. I'm going to go out. It's actually like 60 degrees. It's fantastic today. So I will see you all later. Especially since my internet is now like, the stream is being kind of funny for some reason. Anyways, it was good seeing you all. Thanks everybody for joining. And I will see you later.